Hi everyone, just wanted to talk to you today about following the course of study. This hopefully is a refresher for most of you, but if you're new, this is a good example of kind of how to get through your courses and work through the course material, depending on whatever course you're working with. The example I'm going to use right now is a general ed course. We can just access this by clicking the link here in our degree plan, or if you've already set your courses for the term, they'll be in the My Degree Plan section of the My Courses section of your degree plan. Just at a glance, though, you can see that this is an objective assessment right here. In the green, you'll see that there's an O. There are other courses right below in the literature, arts, and humanities. There's a P, which means there's a performance assessment, which basically means you have homework assignments to submit. In the intro to physics here down in term 5, you can see there's an O and a P. That means you've got both. So that's at a glance that's how you can tell which course has what needs to be completed to wrap up that course and move on. So basically, to get through these courses or to access the course of study, just click on the link. I clicked on the link for INC1, Integrated Natural Science, and this is your course of study. This is basically your syllabus. This is how you get through your courses. If you look here on the left-hand side in the study plan section, that is basically the menu you need to access to work your way through the course. If you work your way from the top to the bottom and do everything in that list, that's how you work through the courses. Oftentimes, students that struggle are not following the course of study, and I don't know why. I worked through WG with my MBA. Every course, I followed the course of study. I never deviated from it, with some exceptions, but I made sure I went through every section because this is what I needed to know to pass my courses. You'll see here in the top, you've got the course material. That's where you're mainly going to set and study from. You also have a learning resources tab. This will tell you what learning resources are available if we need to enroll you in them, but the majority of the courses, there's not too much in this learning resources tab. And then the other main one is the assessment tab, and this is where you would access your pre-assessment. And then also, once you were enrolled and ready to take the test, here there would be a button to request approval and also a schedule now button once it was approved. So those are the three main tabs. I'll go back into the course material section. And just starting from the top, we start with the introduction. If we click on it, it's just basically that first page. This just gives you a brief overview of every course or what the course is about. There's usually a video here that you can watch that describes it as well. But oftentimes when we're looking at courses, we're not sure what they're about. If you jump into any course, they always have an introduction, and you can just kind of get a general overview of what the course is. At the bottom of every page, there's a previous and a next button. You can click next, and it will go just right to the next section. Or if I go back to the introduction section, there's a getting started section, and you just click the next menu down, and then we've got a pacing guide in the getting started section. This is a great resource, a great tool to use when setting up weekly goals. When you're trying to figure out how far should I get, how long should these courses take. For this science course, I'm scrolling down, it's slotted to take about 10 weeks. Could it be done quicker? Absolutely. If you want to try to get this done in 5 weeks, then you would have to do weeks 1 and 2 for week 1, 3 and 4 for week 2, and so on. So this is a good way to kind of set up goals and timeframes of how far you want to get through your courses and when is a good time to stop, when is a good time to move forward and accelerate your studies. So again, following the pacing guide has got a lot of great information to help you stay on track. Also in the getting started section, not every course has it, but there's cohorts listed. If you are enrolled in a cohorts, that's what the course mentors will set up. And they have a group of students complete a course at a certain pacing. And then also a calendar of live events. Not every course has that. Hopefully we will soon, every course, but here's an open calendar of the course mentors, of the cohorts and whatnot. So again, getting started and the introduction section, it's just a lot of good ancillary information. It's good to know where it's at and useful to kind of help you get through this course and getting started. So if we are going through this first course, we're a brand new student. We're going to start with week 1. It says scientific methodologies and then also scientific concepts. If we go down past the learning resources section, well, we should talk about that. Again, this just talks about the learning resources. There's nothing overly critical to know other than if you have questions on how to access them, it's in this tab. But if we go into that next section, where it's usually that's where the coursework starts. It's always after the learning resources. And I kind of glanced over the learning resources because as you're following this, Module 1, Scientific Concepts and Methodologies, we click on this. We just click on the links, and it uses your login for your student portal and uses those credentials to log into those learning resources. So if we look at the top, Scientific Methodologies, and then again, right below topic 2, Scientific Concepts, that's our week 1's goals, or the pacing guide for that. So if we just follow this, we click on that link, what is science? It opens up the learning resources. Again, it uses your credentials. You sign in, and you go through these lessons. And again, it's laid out hopefully in a pretty logical format for you. If you deviate from it, I'm not sure where you're going to go to learn this information. There are some courses that you can access information online with you. But again, this is where the material is nested for you to complete your courses. In this first lesson, it's a course mentor generated video. You just follow it, go through it. I'm sure all of these links will open up a video or a learning resource or just the material you need to know. Again, once you're done with that, the practice section, it says complete the study questions. Click on the link, that's where you go. Once you've done all of this, start on topic 2. It's pretty straightforward. If you notice down here, there's a check mark. You can click it to complete that section, or that you've skipped this section. Either way, it's another way to kind of help you keep track of if you've done this work or not. So again, this is basically how to get through the course of study. Week 2, we're going to go through module 2 and so forth. Again, this course was laid out for 10 weeks, and we've got module 10 connections was that last week. So it's pretty straightforward. Do you have to take 10 weeks? Absolutely not. Can you take 20 weeks? You could. It just depends on what's going on. But really, these courses are laid out with a good pacing guide that if you go through it at average pace, you can get through it in that time frame. The last section, we're just going to say we got through everything. We did it in 10 weeks. The next section is assessment preparation. And then, again, this is giving us a brief overview of how to access, where to access the information to be ready for that assessment preparation, or for the assessment. Usually at this time, after you've done everything, you'd want to go to the assessment tab, and then right in here, the pre-assessment link, there would be a button that says start pre-assessment. And you would take that, you would get a coaching report, and then depending on how you did, you may need to review, or you can continue on and request for approval for the exam. You can see how many attempts you have here. There's 3 attempts on that pre-assessment. There's a cut score of 65%, meaning if you scored a 65 on the test, you passed. Do you need to score 90 on the practice test to approve for an exam? No, you don't. But you should have a fair understanding of what areas you're weaker in on, what you should review. In case you only scored 65, there is room for improvement. If you scored 90, you're definitely solid, ready, and raring to go. If you score 20 on this test and you talk to your mentor and they say, and you ask them, can I get approved? Chances are you're not, because you're not ready. And we want to make sure you are ready before we approve you. We don't want you to go through and take another attempt or a second attempt at this. Continuing on, you can see the time allotted. It's 150 minutes, and then there are 65 questions in this particular exam. The actual exam is the exact same. Cut score is 65, there's 150 minutes and 65 questions. So for a general ed course, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and close this down for the gen eds. It's a little different for our IT courses. I'm going to open up the Networks Plus course. I just clicked on the CRV1 link, and that opened up my course of study for that course. Again, we've got an introduction, course tips, assessment tips, and assessment policy feedback. All of those good information. But in here, there is no pre-assessment link, and that's because this course uses a third-party resource. IT courses, generally, we're going to use another resource outside of WGU. So how to find that? It's right here. Again, I just clicked on the introduction, and I'm just following from the top to the bottom. And it says UCertify has been chosen as the primary learning resource for this course. To access the UCertify CompTIA Networks Plus, launch the course. Launch it. I don't know why students deviate from this or they can't find the learning resource. Everything is hard linked through that course of study, with the very, very few exceptions. And your student mentor should be able to help you out with that. But again, just follow that. It opens it up, it launches it, and we just work through the chapters and lessons. So again, it wanted us to launch it, and then I'm sorry, I'm going to go back up and go into the course tips. And it's telling us what to do first. The course structure, and here's our pacing guide. It says take the pre-assessment, read lesson 1, and complete all chapter 1 labs and quizzes. So here's our pre-assessment. We can take that and then take the chapter lessons and quizzes. So we would just open that up, and here's lesson 1. We can click on these links and just work our way through it. Again, it's pretty straightforward. We can go previous, we can go next. I do recommend taking notes, highlighting things, printing things, everything that you feel you will need to be successful. If it doesn't say, take a screenshot, but you feel you'll need a screenshot, take a screenshot. Whatever it is you need to do to be successful, you can deviate in that aspect. But if we're just feeling like, wow, I already know computer network fundamentals and I want to go to Ethernet technologies, and you completely skip over the OSI reference model, you're going to miss something on the test. All of this information is in there for a reason, and we want to make sure that you cover it. I know we're competency-based. If you are a network guru and you know all of this, you can jump in and take a practice test right away, and you might score a 9 on it and be ready to take the test. But that is an exception and not the rule. All the courses, you are going to have to review and go through this material. Again, I know there's a lot of information online. We can access the OSI model, wireless LANs, and read about them. But we've already done the work to have you work through this material to be prepared for the exam. So again, I highly recommend working through the courses of study and just working down the list. It takes the guesswork out of what do I study tonight. If we followed our pacing guide in week 1 and we did all of lesson 1 for this week, and you wanted to get ahead, you can start on lesson 2. You can see it says read lesson 2 OSI reference model, and then read lesson 3. And then it says complete all the chapter 2 and 3 labs and quizzes. So I would recommend following those in those order. If you didn't, that's okay. But again, there was no reason for me as a student to deviate from this. You can, but also at the same time, you might be skipping over something that might be important. So again, that's my recommendation. One other thing in the course of study, always on the right-hand side, we have a course mentor contact list. This is the email address. On the right-hand side, you would want to email course mentors unless they email you directly. Just if you had questions or concerns or wanted to get in touch with them to set up an appointment, that's the email address to contact them. There's also course announcements and course tips in here. It's not a bad thing to look into and just kind of be prepared of what the course mentors have found, maybe some best practices. There's a Quizlet app and flashcards for this. So, again, there's tips and tricks in here as well. So, again, the reason for this video is to strongly encourage students to follow the course of study. There's a lot of great information in here. And if you are struggling, this takes the guesswork out of what do I study next? What should I read? How do I go about this course? It's all right here. Follow it from the top to the bottom, and you'll be fine.